Welcome to episode 1.1 of the Groundwater Management Model tutorial series. In this episode, we're going to look at some prerequisites and some notation that'll be useful in later episodes in the series. We'll also give a first overview of the systems view for groundwater management. As we move through the series, we will assume that the viewer is familiar with simulation models, which are of course available to predict head or other states of the groundwater system, and also to predict response of the system to stress. The main focus of the series is on management models, which are organized by the user specifying a desired system state, and then the model determining the stresses needed to achieve that desired state. And we'll see many examples of this as we move forward. A little bit about the simulation model, just some basic information that will be useful to us as we go through the series. We'll be focused on the groundwater flow equation, which is shown here in 3 dimensions. Where H is the hydraulic head, the state of the system, and is determined as a function of this equation, and also the parameters of the equation, which include the stresses on the system, which will be our focus, such as pumping wells or other imposed stresses. And of course, it also depends on the parameters of the system, such as hydraulic conductivity. And of course, these are routinely solved with analytical and numerical methods, this equation. We'll be focusing on mostly on mod flow, which solves this equation using a numerical method. And the equation is solved typically or always on a model domain, such as indicated in these figures. And in the case of a numerical solution, the model domain is discretized, as is shown in this mod flow based diagram, showing the cells which are labeled by rows and column and layer, and then are assigned, the cells are then assigned properties such as conductivity or transmissivity, boundary conditions are imposed, and so on. In numerical methods, the typical approach then is to take such a discretized domain, define head as a unknown at each of the cells, and assemble a system of equations. So at each cell we would typically identify a node or cell center in this case with some indexing notation such as a row, column, layer, and we can refer to a particular cell and adjacent cells using that notation. Once a system of equation is assembled, then the numerical code gets down to the business of solving it. In the notation used here, bold H is a vector of heads at each of the cells, each of the unknown heads, excluding places where they are known by boundary conditions or other mechanisms. A is a coefficient matrix, and B is a right-hand side. Typically the stresses show up in the right-hand side. The coefficient matrix, in the simplest case, is not a function of head, and we arrive at a linear system of equations. In other situations, the coefficient matrix does depend on head, and that produces some complications. In any case, most of the solution techniques used in numerical solvers are based on iteration. and they involve some sort of updating and a convergence test. So the way it works is that at iteration m, a head is determined, or perhaps at the initial iteration is guessed at. There is some updating that occurs, and I see that should be an equal sign, so that we have a new estimate of the head, and then there's a test. Is the new estimate much different than the old estimate? This is a norm of some sort, say the maximum change in heads, for example. And if that is less than an epsilon, a small number, then you're considered to be done. Otherwise, you update the heads again. This epsilon, the precision of the heads computed by the solver, will be important in our use of management models. We'll use a notation here for stresses and heads and the relationship between them. We'll be looking at external stresses such as pumping, at multiple nodes or multiple cells. And so we'll define QW with a subscript as being a particular location. It could be a single cell, it could be a collection of cells where we're going to collectively pump at a certain rate or recharge at a certain rate. And we will typically have multiple locations, so n different locations where we are applying a stress. We're going to lump that all together into a vector QW, which will represent all stresses. We'll be interested in computing heads at particular cell locations, at a particular ijk and t time location, as a function of that stress. So we'll use this notation quite a bit. Head is a function of stress, applied stress. Now let's take a look at the system's view of this. We can think of the simulation model as being a system, the system represented by the simulation model, the real system represented by or approximated by the simulation model. And there are two sets of inputs. One is the parameters, and here's just an abbreviated list of the types of parameters that go into describing the system. The other group of inputs I isolate here as engineering controls. So these are the things we typically can control about the system. How much do we pump, how much do we recharge, etc. And once we put those two inputs into the system, or the simulation model, out comes the system state, the heads, velocity, stream flow, whatever other flows you might be interested in. This, of course, is strictly for groundwater flow models. I'd like to contrast two approaches to solving design problems with a simulation model. The first I call a trial and error design approach. We construct a simulation model. We select some engineering controls. For example, we select some pumping rates. We simulate the response, and we look at how the system responds. Have we satisfied the design criteria, whatever they may be? If yes, we're done. If no, we go back and change the controls. Trial and error. Contrast that with the management model design approach. Here we construct a simulation model, same first step. But instead we now define the design criteria. What would we like the state of the system to be? Then we mathematically formulate those design criteria, and we'll see how to do that in future episodes. And then we solve an optimization problem in one step, so we're done at that point. So with respect to this image, essentially the management model approach, the parameters are defined, the system state is defined, and we solve for the engineering controls. And we'll see more about that in the second episode of this series.